It became necessary to destroy the town to save it, the United States major said today. He was talking about the decision by Allied commanders to bomb and shell the town, regardless of civilian casualties, to rout out the Viet Cong. This was during the Vietnam War. Some of you youngsters may have tangential memories of even reading about it in the history books. But this became a popular cultural reference, particularly on the political left, to describe the absurdity of the war. And of course, you couldn't find much better an illustration. We were there to liberate. We were there to protect democracy and freedom for the indigenous people of North and South Vietnam. And of course, in retrospect, we were correct to have carried the fight to communism. But in and of itself, this incident is illustrative of abject absurdity. We had to destroy the village in order to save it. And the left made political hay of this for decades. How ironic, then, that we would revisit that this very week, only with regard to the entire democratic process. The state of Colorado, their Supreme Court upheld a decision to remove Donald Trump from their electoral ballots. Virginia followed suit, and another measure is being drafted in California. More states will follow, of course. The necessity being we had to destroy democracy in order to save it. Who are we to say that this tattooed or spray-tanned, rather, that this spray-tanned clown shoe, buffoon, inarticulate, orange fella wouldn't be the next Hitler, and the only way that we can ensure democracy is by destroying democracy. Now, I'm not going to dicker about semantics and things like that. We all know that we live in a constitutional republic and not a true democracy. But you do understand the point. These are the same people that spent 4 years screaming about this man's existential threat to democracy, and now the only way they can save their version of democracy is by removing him from the democratic process. You know, Lundy Bancroft once said, beware the person who has a different set of rules for their behavior than for yours. And that's an easy enough sentiment to get behind. With this crew, it doesn't just end with destroying democracy in order to save it. No. When it comes down to free speech issues, sometimes it's just a matter of, as we were told by Ivy League presidents last week, it's just a matter of context. For example, when these tiki torch Nazi polo shirt wearing idiots show up in Charlottesville and say Jews will not replace us, they are espousing a disproven, debunked conspiracy theory. They are right-wing extremist hate groups. They all need to be deplatformed and, whenever we have the opportunity, imprisoned and removed from polite society. Let's examine what they said again. Jews will not replace us. Not we're going to do anything bad. They're just Jews will not replace us. But you see, context. These are polo shirt wearing white guys with tiki torches. Now, when these utterly enlightened American liberal college students show up and say, from the river to the sea, this isn't about Jews replacing them. This is about them exterminating Jews. Let's call it what it is. But again, as these Ivy League presidents defended, it's really about a matter of context, you see. It's not what's being said, it's the box that we get to put what's being said into. And of course, the discretion falls to people like these three ladies. I don't know if you saw the hearings, but this level of smugness that they were bothered to even be called, to have their decisions called into question. But since then, one has resigned and another one is on her way out. Why? Because as it turns out, a lot of the donors were Jews. Oh boy. This is how it comes back and bites you in the ass, even when you allegedly control the language, even when you get to dictate what the context is. This extremism bad, this extremism good. From the same group of people that called these angry parents at school board meetings dangerous domestic extremists and yet referred to Minneapolis being torched to cinders as mostly peaceful protests. Now, you knew where we were going with this one. If thought corrupts language, language can also corrupt thought. A bad usage can spread by tradition and limitation, even among people who should and do know better. But again, this isn't a double standard. This is a hierarchy. Bongino has been fond of and adamant about pointing that out. It is not a double standard. It is a hierarchy. We are in control. You are not. And of course, when braced about it, we can always fall back on the golden rule, do unto others as you would have others do unto you scripturally. But one side of the coin wants to treat that as some Pollyanna-esque admonition about behavioral guidelines. Be nice to everyone because, well, you would want everyone to be nice to you if only it were that simple. How about hold yourself to the same standards to which you would demand to be held by others? But that only applies to people who apply that standard across the board, not, as lamented above, those who have one set of behaviors for themselves and another set for everyone else. Now, we can carry this to its logical extreme. There are certain things that you wouldn't want to know. There's certain things that you don't discuss in polite society. But a fellow by the name of Patrick Henry, 6 days before my birthday in 1775, just thought I'd throw that out there for anybody looking for my wish list. For my part, whatever anguish of spirit it might cause, I am willing to know the whole truth, to know the worst, and to provide for it. Here's the whole truth. There are enemies of democracy on all sides. We are beset on all sides by adversity and people who deliberately seek to undermine the very civilization whose future we are attempting to determine. Don't let that depress you. Certainly don't let it take you out of the campaign or out of the fight or the channels of communication. But don't have any illusions about it. You are not dealing with adults, and you are not dealing with people who are negotiating in good faith. You are dealing with some of the lowest human beings to walk the face of the earth, cloaking themselves in the purest of notions while instituting the most Mephistophelian of machinations. Those are my college words. I got like 3 of those. The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own and no one else's on the planet. Not friends, not foes, not supporters, not detractors, not sponsors, and certainly not employers. They have been adjudicated thought crime in all jurisdictions. Consider yourself warned. They are coming from the heart. They are guided by the mind. They are guaranteed to choke you with a big, fat dose of truth cock. And some of y'all need it a lot more than you think you do. So I'm kind of doing you a favor. Welcome back, boys and girls. It's time once again for the Sunday sermon. Happy to have you all on board. I think you are going to find this one interesting, boys and girls. And if not, well, we'll see by the end of the program. Right now, everybody in for the drum roll, please. Where's the fire? Coming out of the starting gate, as we always do, hard charging with a track from the band Red Desert. Speaking of the mostly peaceful George Floyd protest, name of the band is Red Desert. Gut stomping rock and roll band from the smoldering embers and ruins of the once great American city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The name of the band is Red Desert. The name of the track is Older No Wiser. Every week I get a little bit older, and every week you guys get to decide if I've gotten any wiser. Join me, if you will, boys and girls, because we are in that holiday spirit. We're going to crack open a ginger beer because I'm a party freaking animal when it comes to the holidays, boys and girls. Merry Christmas to each and every one of you. Join me in a sip and a little bit of festivity, man. Break the music down just a little bit. We may be having a momentary in-studio guest here in a minute. I'll give you the details on that as they progress. Get a look and see who all is on board. Yes. I see you, brother. I see you. I'm going to do you right. All right. And the divine Miss Emmy, the original Sinner Sister herself, Deacon Mark, recovering from the flu. He's here on the porch. You know it's COVID, man. It's biological warfare. This is all a distraction, and I am in on the plot. Yes, according to some circles, I have become one of them. This is not, in fact, ginger beer. This is Kool-Aid, leaving aside the fact that it was Flavor Aid at Jonestown, so they're getting the reference wrong in the first place. Hello to Miss Carrie. Nice to have you on board. I know Roman is hiding back here somewhere. Tommy, I did get your Facebook messages when I was in the middle of the show prep. I love it, bro. True reason for the season. You are my boy. Love you, man. Miss you. We got to get our knees in the breeze at some point, man. I am looking to get my A license back. My hip is all recovered, so we're ready to do that. GW Bowles made it on time, brother. Look, man, if people come in late, people come in late. Oh, look who decided to join us from their upstairs listening post. That was kind of cool. A little unexpected guest there. Brother Doug, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Glad everybody's on board. What was the book select? What is that? What 22% IPA if you need to get crunk? Deacon Mark, I'm gonna have to pass, brother. I've got that allergic reaction to alcohol. I break out in handcuffs. Very unpleasant thing all the way around. Oh, here we go, man. Just in time for the opening salvo. Guys, I got to do this, and this is second. Pull up a chair, brother. Pull up a chair. I'm going to go ahead and fade the bumper music down. We got a special in-studio guest right here. Go ahead and fade this out. I was just getting ready to give him the shout out. Come on in, man. It's going to be kind of hard. We're going to try to get the camera aligned here. Scoot on in, brother. This is, guys, this is Dusty Tellison, pitmaster over at Nordic Smoke Barbecue. He just showed up to deliver the Christmas festivities. What are we working on, man?
There is a monstrous ham up there.
A monstrous ham.
Yes.
This is, your brother was our first ever live in-studio guest, and just trying to get everything situated as far as timing and everything, man. He was bringing by the holiday festivities. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and give him a shout-out. The only legit barbecue in the Inland Northwest, period, in the statement done. You out there who's got that cross look on your face, sit down, shut up, you're fucking wrong. That's the only one, man. The legit, the real deal.
It's good shit.
Yeah,
it
is
good
brother.
Shit.
Really. And you've still got stuff in the works right now. You're going to be working on rubs, sauces, all that kind of
all
stuff.
Of it, yeah, all of it.
Because I got a lot of people right here that have been up my ass with an alien rectal probe, brother, and they are just like, when is he going to be able to ship, and when are we going to be able to, and I'm like, dude, we're working on it. They could check you out on like all the social media platforms.
Everything,
right?
yep,
everything, right?
Yep.
So we're on Instagram, we're on
Facebook. Well, we're not on Twitter or any of that shit, but
right on.
Yeah, so Facebook.
Crank that over so you can see this.
Instagram.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Right on. Nordic Smoke Barbecue, Casey and Dusty Tellison. You guys already know if you've been paying attention to the program. We're going to jump back into it. I appreciate you bringing the ham by.
Yeah, brother.
I'm looking forward to it. I have a little gift bag for you upstairs on the way out the door. She's got the the usual holiday tradition.
Yeah, I got some for you too, man.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
Look at this. New merch, boys and girls.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
Check this out, man. I'm loving it. And they can pick up the merch at your site as well. Yes?
Yeah. Yep.
Food of the gods, boys and girls. Nordic Smoke Barbecue. Only legit barbecue in the Northwest. Dusty,
hey, brother. Merry Christmas, man.
Merry Christmas to you, man. Love you, bro. Love you. Take good care of yourself, man. Grab that gift package.
I will.
Out, bro. Grab it. And we got you properly situated. Let me give you a call as soon as we get off here.
Yeah.
All right.
Merry Christmas.
Okay, cool. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. God bless you, man. Dusty Tellison, boys and girls. Everybody say hello. All right, cool. Well, there was a ham when I sent him downstairs. Okay, okay. So you guys, we did manage to get the sponsor shout out in for Nordic Smoke Barbecue, and apparently these are the new hoodies, and so like all that merch is available on the website. We're checking out, man. Casey and Dusty, good friends of mine for a long, long time, and they managed to get both holidays this year. Also, want to give a shout out to Roman and. Of course, his lovely wife, Carrie, and Roxy, and Allie, and a bevy of beautiful women. Over at opiumtales.com, they are the erotic pinups and portraits people. Beautiful watercolor work of beautiful naked women and testosterone-driven commentary. It is a win on all freaking fronts on Planet Bart. It is a damn good thing. And from from Dork to Pimp Daddy, that is the book. You guys want to learn, do a little artistic journey on your own, maybe explore some of your artistic talents that you haven't explored. Roman's book, From Dork to Pimp Daddy, how to get beautiful naked women to pay you to paint them. He'll take you through the whole journey. That is available on Amazon. So definitely worth checking out. Again, little Bundaberg ginger beer for the holidays. I could not find the spiced ginger beer. I looked everywhere, couldn't find it. A little disappointed in that, but it's okay because I have a Nordic Smoke ham waiting for me upstairs, and you, by delicious extension, do not. But you will, and you can, and we've got those things in the works, and we'll bring them to you very, very soon. I want to jump into this because Brother Ryan was hanging out with us earlier. And of course, as we normally do, we start out with the rabbit hole. Let me get the soundbite here. There we go. Ryan's Rabbit Hole opening segment. Very happy to hear that. Yes. There we go. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. We had several options for last week we decided to pursue. And in light of a couple of things, not only the fact that I did not feel that one was sufficiently pursued last week, but also just as a personal thanks and show of respect, shall we say, I did want to jump back in, and that is to follow up with the end of history illusion. So that is going to be your rabbit hole this week. We pondered it. We dipped our toe barely into the pond last week. I should have followed it up. I neglected to do so. So as an act of respect and reconciliation, and for the sake of trying to maintain my own integrity, we are going to jump into end of history illusion because it applies on a whole lot of things. The basic premise of the end of history illusion is that, to coin an Orwellian phrase, living in a perpetual present. Now, Orwell meant it in a much different context, obviously. What he meant was that there was no change before, that if you control the past, you control the future. That is not what end of history illusion is about. What end of history illusion is that we tend to walk around perpetually under the misguided impression that we are now at the pinnacle, that our growth has stopped. And I'm speaking purely on an individual level here. And we're going to branch out into the cultural ramifications of that beyond. But purely on an individual level, we tend to believe, constantly live in a misguided belief that we have peaked. It is very easy for us. And when you do the deep dive on the end of history illusion and the actual deeper levels of psychology behind it, you can get into how that got wired into our DNA, how that became part of our evolutionary survival mechanism. And that will be for you to decide what the ramifications are and the importance of. But on a very base level, regardless of how we got here, it exists in our DNA, in our psychology, in our collective unconscious. For you guys out there who are fans of Jung, it exists. It is a misguided belief. We are very, very capable of seeing huge changes that we have made before, right? We can look back over the span of our lives, and this becomes an increasing factor as people age, as some of us out here are. And it becomes more of a limiting factor as we age, and more of something to be aware of and to beware of as we age. Because we tend to think that we've hit the peak now. That this latest iteration, this latest incarnation, this latest evolution is the peak. The flaw with that psychological phenomenon is that we thought that about every single peak that preceded this one. And the further we go, the more we are able to look back and see all these big sweeping changes behind us that we have made that brought us to this point. But yet, looking forward, we have a difficult time processing how much we have yet to change. How many more evolutions are going to take place? And that belief becomes innately self-limiting. Again, we're keeping it purely on the individual level right now. Because if we believe errantly and arrogantly that we have peaked, if we believe that, what is there left to strive for? We put ourselves in these boxes and think that there will be no further development. And Tommy, I see you. I see you on that. I see you on that. But even within the context of that, Tommy, even within the context of that, do you understand Christ the same way as you understood him 6 years ago? 6 weeks ago? Because even in our growth within that box, we limit ourselves when we limit our own understanding. You feel me? We've got to be able to accept that what we took for granted not so very long ago as being the pinnacle is constantly just the beginning. Otherwise, we limit our own growth. We stifle our own growth. And knowing what we know about the way that we are psychologically wired, if we, thank you, right, Tommy? And that was the correct answer, Tommy. That was the correct answer. But for my secular people out here, even my secular people, detaching everything from that spiritual context, what you thought was your peak, if you are aware that this is a psychological hardwire in your DNA and you do nothing, hey, who are you calling Nimrod? First of all, by the way, the actual root of the word Nimrod is mighty king. Leaving all of that to the side for a minute. If I got caught up in anything, once upon a time, I had a very different idea politically. And I thought that I had peaked. And at that point in my life, I could see all of my evolutions that brought me to that point, but I couldn't see anything forward because I was in my box and I was happy in my box. And then that box became a limitation. And then growth forced itself on me to take me to the next level. You tracking? I'm in what I believe to be a beautiful place right now. But if I believe that this place that I am in right now is the peak, then there are 100 plateaus that I will never get to see beyond that peak. Because I have voluntarily limited myself and put myself in a box and stifled my own evolution. And even if we are going to put that in a spiritual context, what is that rooted in that makes it a problem? What is it? A lack of what? A lack of humility? Far side of that, pride, arrogance. And if we are going to put it in a spiritual context, then that is the antithesis of everything I'm supposed to be working on, isn't it? By thinking that this is the end game. I'm in a very good place right now. I'm in a very good place right now. I'm surrounded by people who genuinely care about my well-being. Genuinely, deeply care about my well-being. I'm a homeowner. I've got a marketable skill set. And all these developments in the faith have been outstanding for me. But if I think that this incarnation of Bart is the peak and the pinnacle, number one, I'm being an arrogant prick and I'm not walking in truth. I'm rooting myself in my own freaking pride. But more to the point, I am limiting myself from seeing the possibilities that exist for further growth on any front. But the beauty of this rabbit hole is it's called the end of history. What? Called the end of history. What? The end of history illusion. Here's a little soundbite for you when you're looking for search terms, whatever. The end of history illusions. What psychologists call, and again, I over-explained it, but this is the simplified version. Tendency for people to be keenly aware of how much they've changed in the past, but to underestimate how much their personalities, desires, and goals are likely to change in the future. You have to leave yourself open to growth. You have to be aware of, and as I said before, to beware of this illusion that your growth goes no further. Here's an application. And this will apply to some of you guys that are walking in the faith. This will apply to some of you guys. Did you turn so hard in your repentance that you forgot what is rooted into your DNA? Man, I did so much screwed up stuff. I banged these whores. I did this dope. I robbed this store. I poured bleach in the son of bitch's eyes and blah, blah. Okay, great. Right. Do you think any of those demons have completely left you? You can walk in the light. You should walk in the light. But when you take that, it's almost an extension of that end of history illusion. Yeah, I did all that before, man, but I'm peaked now. I'm peaked now. I'm beyond all that. Oh, man, you're redeemed. You ain't peaked. Because guess what? Every one of those desires that took you to those places, every one of those drives, most of which are biological, let me reiterate. Oh, what? Did nature change? Did nature change? Did I miss a memo? Did I look the other way for a minute and none of those biological imperatives are still there to take you off that path? Oh, but it's okay now because you peaked. You peaked. You know exactly where you're supposed to be. Nope. That's pride, son. That's arrogance. And guess what happens? That's when your ass gets leveled. That's when your ass gets leveled hard and brought humble. To remind you, at the end of the day, even on your best day. So keep that humility. And don't look at life in the context of this is my peak and I've gone no further. You've got tons of growth left to do. And I mean this on a spiritual level or on a secular level, no matter how you want to look at it. It is the illusion, that end of history illusion that you've peaked and you've gone no further. Fight that shit. Fight that shit. And keep your eyes and your heart open for opportunities for growth that are always going to be knocking on that door. Because if you are not being the best that you can be for yourself, how good are you for anyone else? So, figured I would just close the circle on that because I did not give it the proper going over this week. And I don't want to be misunderstood on any level by the people that know me the best, by a lot of people that think they know me. I don't want to be misunderstood. So I hope that served to clarify. End of history illusion. That's going to be your major search term for that. And you can follow that rabbit hole as deep as you want it to go. The rabbit hole that I would follow on that is dig deep on why that became a part of our psychology. For instance, you guys know we went over Uncanny Valley. Ryan, how long ago did we do Uncanny Valley? It's been a minute. We did Uncanny Valley. And yeah, thank you. Thank you. There's a reason why. And that's the creepy part about Uncanny Valley. At some point in our evolution, it became necessary for us to be creeped the hell out and disturbed by things that looked as close to human as possible, but weren't actually human. And it became important enough to our survival that it was hardwired into our DNA. Why? That's the mystery. At some point, it became hardwired into our DNA, this necessity for our psychological survival and self-preservation, to be able to look back more efficiently at changes that had brought us to this point, and yet reject the possibility of change going forward. Why? Why is that in our DNA? I'd love to get into some of those theories. But the fact is, it remains. It remains hardwired in us. And we continue to allow that facet of our psychology to limit us. Fight that, y'all. Fight that. Because you got miles of growth. Every damn one of us have miles of growth. We ain't peaked by a damn sight. Even those of us who are further down the chronological line might have a few less years left on this planet than some of you young bucks. We ain't peaked either. We're still out here trying to make it happen. We're still out here trying to grow. We're still out here trying to get stronger. As always, I want to uplift, man. I want to uplift. It's easy to bitch. Real easy to bitch. Everything is wrong. Everything's fucked up. I went off on a tirade last week. Embarrassing, if I'm honest. Embarrassing fucking tirade last week. Because I let my temper get the best of me. Wasn't looking where I need to be looking. People out there who are solid in my corner, no matter what I may be going through currently. No matter whether or not you're privy to things that I'm going through currently. So what? Doesn't matter. I count myself blessed. It is easier for me on some levels, because I've got this mysterious belief in, Ryan, what did Jason call him? Sky Daddy? It's easier for me on some levels because I can count myself, I literally can put it down. I literally can put it down and just go, look, dude, God's got me no matter what. But even independent of that, I didn't have that for 30 years. I made it. You have to stay rooted in humility above all. And that's a tough one. For arrogant sons of bitches like me, that's tough. People who are big and strong, pride themselves on always having everything under control. That humility stuff, man, especially when we're holding, again, not to puff my own pecker here, but when you're holding a little bit more than the average grazer, it's tough to stay humble, man. It is. But beyond humility, gratitude. Gratitude, man. Gratitude. I'm so freaking gracious right now, man. I'm so freaking gracious right now. It's hard to even contemplate, man. It's hard to even contemplate. I'm alive. I'm breathing. I'm tangentially employed. Blessed, man. And I do have people that I can count on. I hope that for all of you. Truly hope that for all of you. I wish I could have found the holiday spice. See, here's why I get off in that. Here's why I get off in that first world problems bitching about nothing thing. I really looked for that holiday spice, man. I couldn't find it. Sugar-free ginger beer. I'm a freaking party animal now. So let's get into it, man. Just want to touch on these bullet points. At the end of the day, man, it is Christmas. It is Christmas. And the final bullet point that I want to get into is what is going to take us back to the gratitude and the appreciation and the love and the grace and all those things. But I promise y'all I wasn't going to ignore it. And I've been pushing things off to the side. And again, a lot of this is just reflection. It's like, okay. And it's part of that. It's part of that end of history illusion. A good friend of mine pointed out that I have gone through evolutions on this program, and that my best work is always when I am between those evolutions, because every time I hit the top of one of those evolutions, I start acting like I peaked, and it becomes the same thing over and over and over again. And then I'm not communicating with you guys honestly. And since that's the root of what I want to do is communicate with you guys openly and honestly, I start losing track. And it becomes the COVID cast, or the Elon cast, or the politics cast, or the Ukraine cast, or the Jesus cast, any of those things. As a result of that, I have been kind of stifling myself and not talking about specific things because I didn't want it, because it wasn't working with an overall point that I was trying to make. But you know what, man? My most effective communication is when I'm just talking. When it's just a bunch of us knuckleheads sitting around the table with coffee or ginger beer, shooting the shit, and talking about what's on our mind. So I'm going to tell you what's on my mind this week. I did open that bullet point. Destroying the village in order to save it. Destroying democracy in order to save it. For the last 6 years, we have heard these knuckleheads rattle off about what an existential danger that orange guy was to democracy. There are probably at least a couple of you out there watching the replay that believe that, and that's fine. I'm not here to debate with you. I'm not here to engage with you. What I'm here to do is point out inconsistencies, hypocrisies, and irrefutable facts. Ginger beer is a spirit that has no soul. Kind of. I mean, it is sugar-free. Trump has not been convicted of anything. And even if he had been convicted of any of these ridiculous cases that they've got in line for him right now, and I understand a lot of you don't like the man, and I understand that a lot of you detest the man, and I understand that every single one of you that hate and detest the man cannot articulate why. But even conceding your argument, you're talking about removing a guy from the ballot. Why? If he's such a horrible guy, you should be able to defeat him easily, right? Biden's doing a great job. Well, then why is this even a problem? Yeah, Tommy, and I got you. And I said that in the opener. I don't know if you were here for that, but I was very clear about that in the opener. Even leaving to the side, this is a democracy. It's a constitutional republic. For what is largely understood as the democratic process, you're talking about removing a man from the ballot because you can't beat him. He is an enemy of the regime, and he is, in your view, an enemy of democracy or an enemy of the republic, so you're going to have him removed from the ballot? Destroying democracy in order to save it. If you could articulate a case that he was that existential threat, But right now, you don't have a single felony criminal conviction of anything that would disqualify him from running for president of the United States. And so instead of going through the process, you are going to bypass the process and just remove him from the ballot. Just going to pull him off the ballot. You got Newsom on the other side preening. Is there anyone here, by the way, since I've got everybody, is there anyone here that doesn't already know that if Trump is able to secure the election, they're going to swap Newsom out for Biden? Is there anybody here that doesn't know that? Anybody? Anybody got any other theory? I'm all ears. Just real quick. Anybody not agree with that assessment? Moving forward. Newsom grandstanding. Well, I disagree with that in the state of California. Well, of course you do, Newsom, because he's not going to carry California. Truth of the matter is he's not going to carry Colorado either. But we're missing the larger point. We are at a point where legitimately one party, beyond militarizing law enforcement against their political enemies, and that's not even something I'm willing to discuss because I don't argue with children. You're talking about removing a man from the ballot. Not because of any criminal action, but because of what you think he might do. That should terrify any thinking person who still believes in a representative government. It can and should terrify everyone. If you want to identify the kind of people that you need to disengage from and unceremoniously remove from your life, bring this up in conversation. Because if they express anything but outright hostility at the idea that somebody should be pulled from the ballot without any sort of criminal conviction, this is not a thinking human being. This is the kind of person who will turn you into the Stasi if things go really south. And things are headed south. Believe it. Currently, this is where we're at. I'll just catch you up to speed, and then we're going to move right on, because this is not something I'm going to bring. I am acknowledging this, and I'm telling you to be aware of it, and I'm telling you to keep this up front right here as something to be focused on going forward. All right, since we're taking informal polls. Hello, OG Mike D. OG Mike D. Yes. Ryan. Yes. That does sound a lot like democracy in the Ukraine. Yes. The kind of democracy that they want to protect? Yes. How are they protecting that in Ukraine? They're sending Ukrainian troops in, and they are arresting Orthodox bishops in their churches. Couldn't happen here, though, right? I mean, it did during COVID, but it couldn't happen again, right? And they're suspending elections. So, Ryan, yes, that is very prescient and perceptive. That's exactly where it's headed. Because if you're in a war, you can suspend elections. We're in treacherous times, boys and girls. I'm not getting tore up about it. I'm ready for the whatever, whenever. And Mike, thank you. Thank you for coming by, brother. Blessings to you, and God bless you and your boy Cyril. I know he's very happy. And it's good to see you, man. Guys, if you haven't checked out OG Mike D's podcast, you need to do it. He is on YouTube. Send me a link, man. Mike, if you could post a link over there in the comments so you can go check that out, because he's interviewed a lot of guys that, and in fact, I could think of a couple people here that might want to be on, but he's interviewed a lot of guys that have done hard time. He's interviewed a lot of mafia guys. It's a pretty fascinating little podcast, man. And Mike gives a hell of an interview. So definitely worth checking out. Mike, if you could just post a link over here in the comments, man, we'll get it up there for you. But yeah, Ryan, you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. That is exactly the kind of democracy that they're talking about over in Ukraine. No fear. No black pills, no depression. Just recognize what it is going forward. you remember in the opener, and it's actually one of my favorite Orwell quotes about thought corrupting language and language corrupting thought. If thought corrupts language, language can also corrupt thought. A bad usage can spread by tradition and imitation, even among people who should and do know better. What are the intellectual and elitist classes always clucking about? Why are they so much better than us unwashed deplorables? Because they're smarter than us. Academically speaking, even though academia is largely indoctrination now, if we're talking purely in terms of book knowledge and how much more that they've read, I mean, obviously there's exceptions. Obviously there's exceptions of super literate, super esoteric, blue collar motherfuckers that have like more extensive libraries than dudes with doctorate degrees. Ryan. Sorry, got throat. Sorry. They could and should do. They could, they should, and they do know better. So this can only be chalked up to malice and a complete disregard for the democratic processes that they claim to support, and it's a frightening thing. Very, very frightening thing. So going forward, be aware of it. This is going to be a very interesting year, and when things get rolling, they are going to develop very, very quickly. I hope that you have you and your house squared away. When we get to the final bullet point, you'll understand why all of this is going to be brought back together. Context. The importance of context in discussing context. Oxford English Dictionary defines context, noun, the circumstances that form the setting for an event, statement, or idea, and in terms of which it can be fully understood and assessed. Example, the decision was taken within the context of planned spending cuts. We all understand how context is supposed to work in context. So when I hear these three Ivy League harpies using the word context, I need to be abundantly clear on this. Every single thing that these people said in Charlottesville is 100% constitutionally protected speech. Jews will not replace us. Anything that they spewed about specific ethnicities, whatever it was all constitutionally protected speech. And I'm going to get really unpopular with some people here, but you guys know about how much regard I have for that. These people, disgusting pigs that they are supporting, which is not to say that I'm adoring. Guys, you know what I'm saying, and you know what I'm not. I am no friend of the secular state of Israel. My opposition to the secular state of Israel is well known and well documented. Having said that, these people are the most deluded individuals walking the planet. A lot of white, college-educated, liberal kids out there with Palestinian flags, half of these people sporting shirts that say Queers for Palestine. I'm going to tell you something. Every single one of those dogs is engaging in constitutionally protected speech. From the river to the sea, we know what they're saying. It's still constitutionally protected speech. Jews will not replace us. Well, Tad, we know what you're saying. We know what you're really saying. It's still constitutionally protected speech, independent of context. But here is where we are in a historically very, very interesting place. The guys from Charlottesville, when they were engaged in what amounts to, and guys, again, you know my understanding of the word anti-Semitism. When I am using a word like anti-Semitism, I am not throwing it out as a blanket protection for stuff that I disagree with because I can't win an argument with someone over a Jewish issue, right? It's like, that's anti-Semitic, you know. It's a cool dodge. Both the Charlottesville crowd and the Gaza crowd are engaging in speech that is, by definition, anti-Semitic. So what? It is constitutionally protected speech. And I'm going to jump on something here that's going to piss off a lot of people, and I hope to be able to carry this with the proper context. You see, that's what these three Ivy League presidents hid behind. These three women, I'm just going to say it without any reservation, what they did by definition was enable anti-Semitic speech. Why? Because anti-Semitic speech is still protected speech. Everybody good and mad at me now? Stick around. It gets better. I don't give a damn about your boycott, divest, and sanction movement. I don't give a damn that people feel threatened by rhetoric on your college campuses. If someone were to say, and I am quoting now as an example of what would not be protected speech, if someone were to say that Jew X or group Jews X through Y need to be butchered in a public square on Tuesday, now we're into incitement. Up until that point, I don't care that the dangerous rhetoric makes you feel uncomfortable. And that's got nothing to do with you being Hebrew, Sparky. And it's certainly got nothing to do with respect for the religion of peace, because me calling them goat fucking savages is also constitutionally protected speech. Oh, what a tangled web we weave with context, isn't it? When you okay people saying hateful things against groups that you don't like, you're okaying it in the future against people that you do. I have warned about this and I've never wavered. When you got people banned from college campuses for making Islamophobic hate speech, you left this open. We can shut you down if we disagree with your rhetoric because it's anti-Semitic. However, your rhetoric, which is by definition anti-Semitic, is still protected because blank phobe and blankist and blank not. We are free to speak or we are not. And this is a hill that I'm willing to die on and one that I'm not willing to back down on, not one little bit. Those three college harpies, they're cunts. And these days I don't use that word lightly. They are despicable, smug, morally repugnant, ideologically inconsistent, and intellectually dishonest harpies. All three of them. The smugness with which they played the intersectional game. White guy says bad thing, he's bad. Muslim says bad thing against same group from guy that was hated by white guy, he's okay. This protected, that not protected. Every single one of those was constitutionally protected speech. I found them even more contemptible the next day when they started apologizing. Why? Oh, I'm about to jump into a stereotype here. I hope you guys are ready. Because they figured out that a lot of the multimillionaire donors to these university endowments happen to be members of one particular ethnic persuasion. These women are not heroes. And they're not exactly villains. They're cunts. When they took the stand and hid behind free speech in context, they would not have taken that same defense for the Tiki Torch guys on their college campuses. Had Dylan and Tad here shown up with the Tiki Torches on their college campuses saying the exact same quote that the Gaza people were saying. If Dylan and Tad would have had Tiki Torches and been saying, from the river to the sea, from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free. If they would have said the exact same thing, they would have been booted off campus, and under the Merrick Garland Justice Department, they would all have universal files. They do anyway. You get the point. Context is what they hid behind. Go back and look at the hearings. What they said legitimately was that it depends on the context. And they were asked point blank, verbatim, if Jewish students are being specifically threatened, does that violate your speech codes? First of all, speech code? How Orwellian is that? There are laws, incitement, direct threats. And as a First Amendment absolutist, I'm actually opposed to those. I think direct threats should be constitutionally protected. The flip side of that is I think the guy who's the recipient of the threat ought to be able to justify self-defense based on that assessment. I'm getting off topic. They hid behind context. If a specific Jewish student is being threatened, does that violate speech code this? And Harpy number 2, right there in the middle, said it would depend on context. The black lady had to be pushed even further. She had to be braced into a corner of, if speech becomes behavior, then it's a violation. Which is a nice way of saying we're not going to prosecute anyone until someone literally kills a Jew in a school building. This isn't me standing with Israel. I give a damn about the secular nation of Israel. I've already addressed this ad nauseum. This is about speech. And you don't get to hide behind context. Yep. Thank you. Sorry, just getting back to the comments here. The gay one may not believe those things since she hasn't plagiarized what she really believes yet. Guys, go back and watch the hearing. Yeah, I thought that was Urkel. Okay, that's cute. Regardless of the consequences, one is able to speak what they believe. It's a matter of willingness. I completely agree. But then again, that's why I say absolutist and why I mean it. Khalid Muhammad. I bring him up all the time, guys. It's it's part of the Reverend Bart drinking game. Whenever the Rev brings up Khalid Muhammad, you got to take a shot. Even if it's ginger beer. Khalid Muhammad, that famous tirade, kill all the white people that he did in front of that church in South Central Los Angeles. I can't get enough of that speech. He is literally advocating the genocide of my people. And it is so beautiful listening to him go. Because when I hear that, I think two things. Number one, if you ever want to take it there, Brother Muhammad, may you rest in peace. If you ever want to take it there, Brother Muhammad, knuckles up. I will meet you on the barricade, son. But in the meantime, you're bumping gums. And the fact that you can say such hateful, violent, despicable stuff reminds me that we do, at least for the moment, still live in a free society. Kill the men, kill the women, kill the crazy, kill the faggots, kill the lesbians, dig them up and kill them a goddamn again because they didn't die hard enough. You can't buy that kind of hate. Beautiful, man. Like I said, you ever want to step up, I'll see you on the barricade, Brother Muhammad. But that rhetoric, in the meantime, revitalizes me because it lets you know that freedom isn't dead, right? It isn't dead yet. Oh, and added in the rate of white women, but they're a poet, so yeah, okay. Viva referencia obscura, my friend. Viva referencia obscura. Merry Christmas. The point being, we are free to speak or we are not. I don't want to hear context. Okay for him, okay for me. Not okay for him, not okay for me. But when it comes down to it, I don't believe in limits. Well, I'm all for free speech, but stop. We're not having the same discussion anymore. Well, when you've got a person like, stop. Noam Chomsky, speaking of famous intellectual Hebrews, actually did a preface for a book on white supremacy and Holocaust denial. And in that preface, and he caught 9 miles of grief for being a self-hating Jew, of course. But he stated it clearly. If you don't believe in freedom of speech for people you don't like, you don't believe in it at all. A lot of people are still having difficulty getting their heads around that. From the river to the sea, Palestine must be free. Go for it, brother. Go for it. And you over there in your Queers for Palestine shirt, the delicious irony of you being beheaded by these goat-raping savages that you have recently embraced is going to be beautiful. But in the meantime, speak your mind, son. Limited and muddle-headed though it may be, speak your mind, son. I want to know where you are. You fellas on the other side, I like the fact that you're coming out and trying to deplatform people because that shows exactly the root and the motivation behind every single iota of the energy that is standing with the secular nation of Israel. What do we know about Mossad? What's right there in the operating motto for Mossad? By deception shall we perform war. Get people spun up on guilt. They don't have any issue about it. I like that Ben Shapiro is showing his true colors for a change. And Ben, let me just give you a little piece of advice, man. Look, a lot of my boys up here in North Idaho are not real happy about that little baby crush I got going on Candace Owens. But my boys up here in North Idaho are just going to have to deal with that because that's my girl, dog. You need to leave that shit alone because she's smarter than you and she's got a much cuter ass. And that doesn't change the fact that your yarmulke still looks silly and we all know that your wife is a doctor. God, you irritating little yarmulke elf. Right? Thank you. It's never an accident. If it weren't for unleavened bread, there would be no crackers. That's pretty good, G-Dub. I like that. That's pretty good. Yes, Ben Shapiro's sister has some nice hoo-hoos. You're absolutely correct in that assessment, too. But still, we all know how Yentas age. So, anyway, that was just mean. That was mean and unnecessary. And done largely comedically. And if you guys can't figure that out, I don't need you. It's cool. Context. There is no context when it comes to discussing context within the context of free speech. There is only free speech and unfree speech. I want it to be as vile as possible because I would rather know exactly how someone felt. Getting back to Brother Muhammad, dude, I love knowing that. For being to bring up Jewish ritual murder. No, actually, I think it's a perfect. Yeah, we could bring up Jewish ritual murder. We could follow that with a Google search on blood libel, and then after they've read the first page on blood libel, they can do another Google search on Israel's participation in the human organ trade. Oh, and the fact that they've harvested organs from dead Palestinians in Gaza and put them in play on the international market. Ryan, I can't help but feel like we went over this like right after. I feel like I've done this rant. I feel like I've done this one. In fact, we did that rant as soon as I got to Borger, Texas. We dipped in just to get that. Independently of all of this, I don't care which side you stand with, but if you're trying to interfere with people speaking their minds politically, I don't care which side you stand with, you better stand aside. Because I will go to the wall for that. I will go, yeah, true story. I will go to the wall for that, man. I'll go to the wall for it. There are people that on a visceral level, I want to chew the faces off of. These groomer, pedo maggots. People who advocate cutting the breasts off of healthy 13-year-old girls in the name of gender-affirming care. I want to chew their faces off. I want to go straight bath salts on these sons of bitches. I'm really trying to watch the F-bomb. I'm watching the F-bombs, okay? I'm doing better. I really want to go bath salts on and just chew the face off of them, man. I want to do a big shot of Trenbolone in both cheeks after starving myself for a week and a half. And just turn me loose on these dudes. But you know what? If a government ever tried to step up and say they can't say those things, well, now I'm going to be conflicted. I want them out there. I want them out there talking exactly what they really mean. NAMBLA. Anybody? NAMBLA? North American Man-Boy Love Association. This goes back a long way. This ain't no recent thing. The pedo groomer thing, the gender-affirming care thing, that's fairly recent. NAMBLA, oh, that goes way back in the day. 60s at least. Ryan, help me out. I want to say mid-60s, NAMBLA, before they were acknowledged. North American Man-Boy Love Association, advocating sexual relationships between adult men and young boys. They've been around for a minute. Don't shut them up. I want them out there. I want them out there talking that noise. I want them out there thumping their chests about how they're just another alternative sexuality. I want them out there thumping their chests about how they're just identifying a different way. I bet because as long as you're talking, I got them on the radar. As long as you're talking, I got them on the radar. When you start shutting them up, that's where everything goes under, and then that's when things start getting really, really sinister. I want them out there talking because the more light, you just couldn't let it go, could you? Just couldn't. Right. Anyway, thank you, Deacon Mark. Much rather know where my enemies are. Keep them out there, right in front of you. Let them talk, man. Because, and I believe this, for all you black pills out there, it's over, man. Game over, dude. I don't believe that. Don't believe that. Still hard pressed to believe that. I'm seeing a lot of stuff that is disturbing me about the lengths to which people are willing to push it. Trying to remove a presidential candidate from a ballot. There are a lot of things that disturb me, but I swear to you, man, and I believe this in my heart of hearts, fundamentally, people are suckers for the truth. Fundamentally, people are suckers for the truth. And you cannot deceive in a world of unlimited information. You cannot ultimately deceive anyone who doesn't somewhat want to be deceived. You guys tracking with me on this? There are people who still believe that vaccines are safe and effective because they want to be lied to. Some other facet of that narrative provides them comfort that someone outside of them is in control. Me, I got the boss man and the carpenter kid. They need Dr. Fauci. Okay, cool. Who am I to judge? What's up, Mike? I see you, buddy. It's important, man, to realize that fundamentally people are suckers for the truth. And the truth is the truth, man. The truth is on a momentum now of tsunami-esque proportions. The truth right now is rolling through the West on some 9.5 on the Richter scale level, baby. They pushed. Why? Because we let them speak. You understand? We let them speak. And we let them get arrogant. That they thought they were in control. That they thought they were being perfectly reasonable. And it wouldn't matter because eventually us deplorables and unwashed peasants were going to get shut down anyway. We let them speak. And they talked themselves right into a freaking hole. And people woke up and they went, first, people had, oh, no, they don't really mean that. Oh, yeah, but they won't take it that. Oh, they did? Oh, wow. Yeah, but they couldn't possibly. Oh, my God, they're about that too. Enough. Too late now, son. Hey, where's that bitch Pandora? Tell her to close that box up. Too late. What a roll, y'all. So take some joy in that, man. A lot of people have had to hurt and suffer and get their lives and their psychology and their bodies wrecked to get us here. Honor that. Step the hell up. Lift yourself above, man. Hold yourself high. Realize that you are a resident of the healthiest patient on the cancer ward, son. An industrialized Western democracy, the likes of which this world has never seen. And you are alive in this moment. How could you feel anything but blessed, man? So enough of this crybaby nonsense about how our best days are behind us. Oh, I'm sorry, what? End of history illusion? Oh, we're peaked, man. It just gets no better than this. Talked about it individually, but I'm talking about it culturally, son. End of history is an illusion, bro. It's an illusion. We can see all the changes that we went through to get here, but now we think we've somehow peaked. Hell, we can't even see over that next damn corner to see how the tipping point's already been reached and we've gone over. We can look at all the stuff that got us here because we're fixated on the past. This is not the end, man. This is not the end. It's not the peak. It's just the beginning. I believe it in my heart of hearts, man. We are looking at a cultural renaissance. We are looking at masculinity reasserting itself. And all of the foundational principles of Western civilization reemerging. Maybe in ways that we're not going to recognize. Maybe in ways that make us uncomfortable. Maybe in ways that test our faith. Maybe in ways that test our intellect. But like it or not, that German with the funny mustache even said nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. And this time has arrived, son. The West has found her cultural soul. And it's rising from the ashes. And it's a beautiful damn thing to behold. If only you will open your eyes and look at it. Have the courage to open those eyes and take a solid look at what's going on around you and realize how freaking blessed you are to be alive right here, right now, in this place, and realize that whether you're a man of faith or you walk along on a secular path, that you are here in this place for a reason. Maybe it's to speak and touch hearts and touch souls. Maybe it's to knuckle up and break jaws and break cheekbones. Maybe it's to be horribly martyred as an example to people who will come behind you. Or maybe you just can be at home watching football on the TV. Ultimately, you are going to live through this history because this is not the end of history. you're going to keep riding that wave. It's just where you're going to be when it crashes. And believe me, baby, that crash is coming. Get your house, your soul, and your spirit in order, son. Ain't no ducking what's coming. And I pray for you to have that strength. I'm not going to go into a whole dissertation here. One last bullet point that I want to hit, and I'm going to let you guys get back to your Christmas festivities, because I know some of y'all probably still got some damn shopping to do. And at the very least, I would venture a guess that you gotta, right? Thank you. And that's going to be coming out too. A semi-urban accent. He's slipping out as killing my drunken Sunday boner. I'm sorry, G-Dub. I'm sorry. It gets up in me like that sometimes, man. It gets up in me like that sometimes. And G-Dub, it goes sometimes. Sometimes I'll have my inner Swaggart come out. Jimmy Swaggart, to this day, man, say what you want about Brother Swaggart, man, and his trials and tribulations. Say what you want about him. First of all, he's rock and roll, because that's Jerry Lee Lewis's cousin. So he's all about rock and roll and banging the young stuff, for one thing. But he was one of my earliest influences as a performer, because I like that fire and brimstone stuff, man. I like that fire and brimstone stuff. Especially when it just rolls up over you, man, and you're in that pocket. You're in that pocket. And you just want to get that point out. You want to carry it. You want to carry it as authentically as possible, because that's how I'm feeling it in the moment. So, yeah, I can see how it's. I can see how that might be a boner killer for you, G-Dub. I apologize. There's an article, and I repost it, and I'll repost it tonight to my fan page and to my personal page on Facebook. I'll post it. But it's, of all the things, there was a website. You guys remember a magazine called Cracked when you were a kid? I was a Mad magazine guy, but some people were about Cracked because your parents thought that Mad was too risque or whatever. Anyway, Cracked.com. They had a website, a little humor website. I don't even know if it's still around, but I know their old stuff is, because this article goes all the way back to 2014. This is so we're 9 years. This is 9 years I've been posting this thing. Cracked.com, and the name of the article is "We've Survived Another Year, Make It Count." Now, you guys can read the whole thing. It's well written and it's well put together. But I'm going to give you the Reverend Bart version while we're here. I'll give you a little Reverend Bart synopsis. What it comes down to is this, and this dovetails into everything that we were telling you. Right? Thank you. Yep. To hear them tell it. Yep. The end of our history will only be whatever catastrophic event comes next. You know what, Tommy? Disagree. Because that is just going to be one more event in that history, and it'll be the next catastrophe, but that catastrophe will not spell the end of us as a species. At least conceded, there are scenarios that could. But I think we've got plenty more left. Oh, I think we're going to have much worse catastrophes, man. So look at the bright side. It's going to get a lot worse. Tommy, I'm glad you showed up, brother. I am. Fair. Not exactly optimistic, is it, Tommy? He's just like, yeah, it's fair. I really don't feel good about it, but it's fair. Bottom line of the article is this, and the way that it dovetails in with everything else. Why did people, okay, well, the Christians stole, the thing from the pagan festivals. Yeah, right. It's true. It's true. We did. Sorry if that short dicks everybody, but it's fact. We did align things with the pagan traditions to more easily assimilate, indigenous populations. We did that. So is the real meaning of Christmas about the birth of Christ? Is the real meaning of Christmas about the things that we think it is? Is even people of faith and their idea of what the real meaning of that peak winter holiday is? Is it? What those seasonal celebrations were deep down about, and why family and community. The values of the West, guys, you still tracking? Family and community. Why? Because it was a long, hard winter. And why are all of those pagan rituals all Northern European pagan rituals? For the same reason that Northern European and North Asian have higher intellectual constructs with regard to temporal disparity, risk versus reward. What the hell are you even talking about? If you evolved in a northern climate, this goes for the Northern Europeans, this goes for the North Asians, the Mongols, the Chinese, the Russians growing up coming out of the steppes of the Caucasus Mountains. What you did today might affect whether or not you survive 6 months from now. There were traits that we had to develop as part of our cultural evolution: better social cohesion, family and community, better cultural ties, because no matter how tough you were individually, you were not going to make it through that brutal ass cold winter by yourself. And thinking in terms of preparing for the future. If you evolved in an equatorial climate, if you didn't chase the animal and kill it today, the animal would be there tomorrow. If you didn't pick the fruit off the tree today, it didn't matter, because the fruit was going to be there tomorrow. You didn't have to think in the long term, and because of that, you did not develop those higher intellectual constructs. Some of you right now are bristling because you know what the subtext is of this. I don't care. I speak truth. We developed those things, the social cohesion, the cultural bonds, the importance of family, the importance of preparing for the future, because we got to deal with, whether you were pagan, whether you were walking in the faith later, you got to see the wrath of God every winter as part of your death and rebirth cycle, when that first cold wind starts to bite and you know that it's not long before this strange white frozen stuff is going to cover everything as far as the eye can see. And if you're not dug in like an Alabama tick, you are power screwed, my young friend. If you didn't have a network of people, a family, a community to rely on, you were power screwed, Sparky. You are not going to make it on your own. And this is how we're wired. Some of us, on a personal level, have had to evolve, whether it was not being able to trust our family coming up, whether it was circumstances that either hit us or that we put ourselves in that got us into really bad situations, that hurt us, that made it difficult for us to trust. But down to our freaking DNA, it is hardwired. And what is the importance of those holiday seasonal festivals? And why is family such an important part of that? Because the winter was on. And those faces that you're gathered around the campfire with, eating that food and telling them how much you love them and exchanging gifts, or dancing around the tree and the campfire outside, however it was that you celebrated the death and rebirth cycle, you knew you might not see these people again. Because that's just how cold nature could be. That's how cold the gods could be. That's how cold God could be. You got a long, cold winter coming, and you might not see these people again. One of the things that has been the worst enemy of the West and of Western civilization as of late, beyond just a complete parting with those anchor values, is the fact that it's made us forget who we are, our uniqueness and importance as a culture. Of course it has. But it's made us forget even those most basic roots. It's a different world, man. It's a different world now, man. We just got to accept the new normal. How different is the new normal from end of history? Oh, we've peaked now. All those changes that got us to here, Oh, that was all the evolution, but now we've peaked. Lies. Lies. Because we still have a hell of a lot of evolution and a hell of a lot of growth left to do, first of all. And all of those things that went before weren't just to get us here. They were to keep us alive and together as a culture long enough to get here. It is why, in spite of all of the things arrayed against the West right now, we continue to persevere, we continue to prosper, and we continue to be the envy and object of hatred of those less than us. You don't hate what is beneath you. There's no need to hate what is beneath you. The root of getting together with family and reestablishing bonds and community during this time historically has been that we know we are going into a long, cold winter, metaphorically or physically, and we don't know who may or may not be there on the far end of it. So we want to let them know right now, face to face, no matter what happens. I freeze to death in the next 3 days. I'm trudging back to my lodge and I get eaten by a bear. I want you to know that I love you. I want you to know how important you are to me. I want to lift you up. I want to do what I can to make you better so that you're more likely to survive this. So next year, because we're thinking that far ahead, remember, northern climate, we're thinking that far ahead. So next year, when we're sitting around this campfire, I get to see you again. Culturally, we need to be lifting each other up. What do you mean culturally, man? Is that some racist shit? Well, if you want to take it that way. But the values of the West, if you are prepared to assimilate to the cultural values of the West, I don't care that you're black or yellow or red. It means nothing to me. I care about the values that you carry here and here. What values am I talking about? Family cohesion, lifting each other up, strength in body, strength in will, strength in spirit, open dialogue, always open, no matter how ugly it's got to get, no matter how unpleasant, always free to speak. Because everything that winds up manifesting itself here begins here. If we can discuss it and keep it here, then it doesn't have to go here. And we don't have to waste our precious cultural resources. We don't have to waste all that time and energy fighting our brothers when we should be embracing them in light of what's to come. You want to talk about a long, cold winter, son? You want to talk about a long, cold winter? Look ahead. Don't get black-pilled on it. I don't want none of y'all. I don't want to hear one crybaby word out there. Yeah, you're right, man. We should just give up our best days. I will sock you in the mouth, son. Rock up. Butch up, Sally. We got no time for that. We got a long, cold winter ahead. And the people that want to see the end for the West, and the people that want to see the end for masculinity, and the people that want to see the end for Europe or for Christendom or any of the things that we hold here, they have aligned themselves with the forces of that long, cold winter. They want to see that fire extinguished. And some of us are just out here trying to light candles. Be that son of a bitch that's out here lighting candles, son. Because when you're out pissing on other people's fire, not only are you a detriment to yourself, you're tearing down the cause. And a lot of us out here are gathered around that campfire. We're looking at that long, cold winter, and we're letting each other know, I love you, man. I love you, and I want to lift you up. I want to make you stronger, because when this comes around, not if, when I see you again around this campfire next year, I want to hear how that strength carried you through the winter. I want to hear how that strength, how that knowledge, whatever it was that carried you through that moment of crisis, I want to hear it from you, because I will see you again. And then do our best to lift each other up so we will see each other again. And I don't mean this just for us guys, everybody just sitting around the table here enjoying our ginger beer and whatnot. I mean for the other people that you were surrounded, because you got a life outside of this. I mean the other people you were surrounded with. Lift them up if they can be lifted. If not, step away. Oh, the in-group and the out-group thing, that's so toxic masculinity. That's how we survived this long, Sparky. Strength above all, man. Strength above all. But that strength isn't just on the individual level, because what did I talk about? What are those higher intellectual constructs? What are those higher cultural constructs? Cohesion, man. I love the fact that you can be a lone wolf. I love the fact that you're a strong individual, a strong warrior on your own. I love that. Because we need guys like that. But guess what, folks? I love you, Clem. You showed up at the right time, brother. No matter how bad you are, you're not going to make it alone. And even if you can, you're a hell of a lot better asset to the people you choose to call your brothers. Choose. It's important. Don't let anybody thrust that on you. But for the ones you choose to help, you're a lot more valuable an asset helping them to get stronger. That's a lot of what I'm aiming to do now. Because all the crybaby stuff and lamenting all the stuff that's wrong with the world and this is that, best days. Too many people doing that already. I'd rather be out here lighting candles, man. And I mean that for anyone. Not everybody can be reached. I'm not getting Pollyanna about the BS in my old age. Not everybody can be reached, man. I'll go you one better. Most so-called men in this day and age can't be reached. They can't. Too much for too long. Asking them to do too little. They're nothing. They're empty inside. The ones who can be reached, if I see you reaching out for me, bet your ass I'm going to reach back out for you. You're not going to take advantage of me. You're not going to play me weak. You're not going to use up my resources and then walk away like you were the one done wrong. You're not going to do that. But I'll help lift your ass up for as long as you want to put in the effort. You want to get out here in the gym, sling some kettlebells around, learn how to throw a proper punch, how to slip a jab. You want to find a weekend, go out, actually do some training with some weapons. We'll make it happen. You want to learn how to tune your diet up. Some of you out there might be a little curious about the chemicals that some of us are pushing to try to hang on to what's left of our misspent youth. I'll advise you on that too, man. I'm down for whatever. If you want to lift yourself up, it should be no more difficult than to reach over to the person next to you and say, look, man, I'm a child of the West. I'm a child of God or not. I'm a child of Christendom or not. But I'm a child of the West. I am your brother. I'm hurting, man. I really, really want the help. Not everybody does. You got to have the discernment. You can't let people run roughshod. And I know a lot of you have gotten burned, and I totally respect that. And I'm right there with you, man. You're going to have to show me something. A lot of people talk the talk, and then you offer them. Hey, man, all right, you really want to do this? Here you go. Oh, well, give me a month. No. We got a long, cold winter ahead, guys. Just this year coming up. When they're already talking about pulling the leading candidate, the guy who is most likely to win a free and fair election, and they're pulling him off the ballots to keep him from running. You don't think the West is in some trouble? During the COVID pandemic, they told churches that they couldn't have service on Easter Sunday, and churches listened. You don't think the West is in trouble? People trying to tell you that every semblance of what it was to be a strong Western man is evil, toxic even. Got it to the point where suicide rates among these young men, walking around, no direction, no skills, and more to the point, no mentors. And you don't think the West is in trouble? You don't think we got a long, cold winter ahead? Oh, we got a long, cold winter ahead. It ain't that COVID nonsense that Biden tried to sell us, winter of death and discontent. We're at war, guys. We are at war. We're at war for the soul of our culture. And I say this without a shred of hyperbole or exaggeration. We are at war for the soul of our culture. And that's even just for you secular fellas. I'm not even talking about people that are walking in the faith that are at war literally for their souls. I'm talking about for the soul of the culture. Anybody out there besides Ryan read Oswald Spengler? Anybody out there besides Ryan read Francis Parker Yockey? Anybody out there besides Ryan would care for a reading list of any of the stuff that I'm referring to? I will get you on board, man. Catch you up to speed, because we do have a long, cold winter coming. And that is the blessing of this season. So in the microcosm, if you are surrounded by people right now that love you and people that you love, and you want to see them again at the end of this long, cold winter, the first thing you do is let them know how much and how deeply you love and appreciate them. The next thing you do is show them how much you deeply love and appreciate them. And then you lift them up and you make them stronger. When they are flagging, you let your strength be their strength. For those of you who I knew Clem would be on board. For those of you who are secular or pagan, find that strength however you got to find it. For those of you who are people of faith, you find that strength in Christ. You talk to the boss man, you ask the carpenter kid, hey, where do I fit in the divine plan? But you find the strength and you carry forward. Don't hold any illusions about that long, cold winter. A lot of y'all out there think it's not going to, yeah, it's good, but it's not going to get that bad. You have no idea. You have no idea. I promise you, Ryan and I both are devout students of history, and we have had long conversations about how this is going. And I promise you, at some point during what's coming, there's going to be a moment where me and Ryan are going to look at each other and be like, I didn't even think that could happen. But find that strength. Because as part of that cultural tradition that brought us all together as children of the West in families in Northern Europe, or the North Asian tribes like the Mongols, the Russians coming out of the steppes of the Caucasus, man, this is what brought us together. This is what took us to that higher level. It's what gave us the resiliency collectively. And I'm not big on collectives. You guys know, don't even take it that way. What do you say? Don't spare me, all right? Because we're not talking about something thrust upon us by an outside state. We're talking about something that happens organically between families and communities and people of one blood and people of one culture. I maintain with every fiber of my being that the West is the highest expression God's ever had on this planet. Rage against the dying of the light, they say. Get out here and light some freaking candles, man. Get out here and gather your loved ones around the campfire, whether that is in a microcosm, hanging out on a real Christmas tonight and for the next few days, or whether that is on a metaphorical scale somewhere larger. Find your community, find your culture, find your tribe, and gather those brothers close to you, and you let them know, I love you. And when we come down at the end of this long, cold winter, I will see you again. And then do everything in your power to lift them up to ensure that that happens. We get through this together or not at all. We get through this as a culture or not at all. And if the West disappears off the face of the earth, I promise you, within 2 generations, civilization will disappear right behind it. God forbid. So in the meantime, embrace each other. Embrace each other. And find that strength however you got to find it. Because there is a long, cold winter ahead. And that is the true meaning of the season. All other spiritual elements aside. Not trying to insult anyone who's like, hey man, you haven't mentioned baby Jesus one time. It's coming. But I'm here talking to all y'all right now. I'm talking to all y'all right now. Find that strength. Make sure that that light don't go out, that the West endures, and that we endure culturally and personally. And once we get past that long, cold winter, we can sort out all the small shit on the other side. Because anything past that is trivial. Survival. The only biological imperative that matters. Oh, all right. I appreciate y'all being here, man. I'm gonna close with a real quick prayer, man, for those of you who are still here and hanging out. For those of you of faith or not. Yeah, I did mention the Carpenter Kid a few times, right, Tommy? If y'all just share with me, man. I'm just gonna close with a quick prayer. Lord God, I appreciate all of the realizations that I've come to this year. I appreciate the guidance. I appreciate the discernment, the clarity that have come. I appreciate every facet of your divine plan, including the ones that revolve around adversity, and sometimes even more for the adversity, because that is what shapes us and shows us who we are. Never let me lose sight of that, Lord. People that find themselves alone on this holiday, man, I ask that you give them strength. I ask you to speak to them. Let them know that they are loved. Let them know that there are people out here wanting to lift them up. People who are really up against it right now, I ask that you help them to find their deepest strengths in time of crisis. And show them that the adversity is what shapes them. Help them to get through. But for everybody gathered here, man, I want to bring it home for everybody to lift people up. Lift people up. Because the world is going to kick you in the face and tear you down and piss all over your dreams and tell you that you're nothing and try to demoralize you, dehumanize you. The world's going to do that enough. Let us not feel so damned obligated in our arrogance to take the easy route and piss on everybody else's candle. Let's find the people who can be lifted up. And let's do our best to lift them up. Strength in Christ, whom I ever serve, in whose name I pray. Omnia ad regnum. God bless and amen. Appreciate you guys being here, man. We're going to roll with it. We're going to roll with it, man. I appreciate you guys dipping in on a Christmas Eve. For those of you who are watching the replay, I totally get if you didn't make it live. I have a smoked ham upstairs that is calling my name, so I'm going to jump on that. In the meantime, I'm going to pass around my little digital collection plate here. Going to close as we always do, going out with a little clutch. Fortunate son. Hopefully the sound's coming through. Merry Christmas to every one of you guys. Appreciate y'all being here. Appreciate you making me feel like not so much a lone voice in the wilderness as I do in my old age. You guys want to toss me a little coin? That'd be cool. I'm on Facebook, Cash App, Venmo, all that good stuff. If you can't, I get it. We are still in a Biden economy, dude. And until that changes, some of you guys are not going to be able to toss anything, and I cannot blame you, dude. Especially Christmas season and a Biden economy, man, that's a double whammy. I get it. Here's what you can do to help me out, man. Give me a hand. I see a lot of you guys out there now that are reposting. On your own social media platforms, your own pages, whatever, whether it's Twitter, Instagram. If you dig what I got going on, repost, man. Just say, hey, toothless, fat, cripple, crane operator with some opinions every Sunday he gets on for a couple hours. Yes, G-Dub, I do, actually. I do. Hit me up in a private message, man. Hit me, Tommy, G-Dub, I'll hit you back privately. I'll hit you back privately on Facebook. So, I'll hit you both back privately on that. In any case, repost if you can. That's really cool. Here's what you can do, not just for me, but for yourselves. That's going to help everybody out. Getting back to what we're talking about, lifting people up. My man Stone, he's really big on saying it. Live the 3, baby. What's the 3? Signal to noise. Signal to noise ratio is all messed up right now. They'll try to bury you with that noise. You got to be the signal that punches through that noise and get some message across to help lift people up. Light in the darkness, they will try to bury you in the darkness, try to demoralize you, dehumanize you, emasculate you, make you think that there is nothing left but the darkness. You have got to be the light that breaks through the darkness. You gotta be that strength to hold that lamp to break through the darkness, which brings us to the third and final rule, the iron rule, the prime directive, which is you've got to be strength in a world full of weakness. And Lord knows we got an abundance of that weakness out there. We got to break through it. We got to be strong. When I'm talking about strength, because without that, nothing else matters. I'm talking about strength here, but also here, and even here. Because without that strength, you're not going to be able to carry that signal through the noise. Without that strength, that light is never going to break through the darkness. So strength above all. Find that strength in yourself and help to find it with others. You guys take care of yourselves. Take care of each other, man. Walk in the light. Live in truth. Live the 3. Really appreciate you guys being here, man. Merry Christmas to every single one of y'all. Wish you were here. But wherever you are, man, God bless you. Very best of the holiday season. Thanks, guys. I'm the Reverend. That is the gospel. We'll see you next Sunday. Y'all mean the world to me, man. Thank you. Love you. Peace.